Hi Nathan. So apologies because I'm doing this a day late. Got stuck with some work yesterday. Um, so quickly, I'll get right to it. All the introductions and stuff I'll do in the email. So scale economies. Very interesting. This book is first of all. Uh, they're essentially trying to they're essentially trying to put strategy into mathematical numbers and equations, which makes it both weird but interesting. Okay, so for scale economies, they've put some variables in, so I'll just write it down so that we know what they are, which is C is equal to variable cost per unit, Q is equals to units produced. This is small c, and capital C is fixed cost. Okay, and this fixed cost, as they've mentioned, is not for the uh, startup, but just for each production, for each production cycle. Okay. Now, there's also one more, which is pi, which they've taken as profit. I hope you can clearly see the board. It's not the best of setups, but we're trying to make it work uh, to keep it low cost and still work well. Okay, so essentially, they're trying to figure out a relationship which is good for, say, the weak um, company as well as the strong company, and essentially how you can become strong by using scale economies. Um, so the first is total cost comes out as C into Q plus the capital cost of each production, right? So this is the total cost that we need, and the profit will be equal to, profit is equals to P minus C, which is P. I haven't written P. P here is price by all sellers. So they are thinking that the price will be common, at least initially it will be common. Okay, so the profit is essentially price minus the variable cost into the total quantities minus the capital cost that was required for that production. That will obviously be the profit, very simply. And that is how we kind of find out the profit in every case. Now, for the surplus leader margin, they've also taken two more variables where S is the strong company and W is the weak company. So everything is essentially based upon uh, figuring out which one is what. Now, surplus leader margin. When will this be true? When P, which is the price, gives the profit of W as equal to 0. Okay, so the leader will only gain margin or added money when the S will have a price, or the price by all sellers will be such that the profit of the weaker company is 0, right? That is the condition that they've put. That is the condition that they've put in order to find out the relation. So when pi for W is equals to 0, it essentially implies, it gives us P minus C of W into the quantity of W minus the capital cost. Now they are assuming that the price, first of all, is common, cost is all of these things are common, except for the quantities that the weak uh, company is producing. So for this to be true, the quantity is like this, and this gives us the price for the weaker company will be equal to, okay, so just to make it more easier, I'll break it into steps. What is happening? This C minus C will take it here. So C and this Q will take in the bottom, which gives us this. And this implies P, which is the price, will give me the capital C upon QW plus the cost for each run, or the variable cost. Fine. So this is how we are figuring out the price. Now we are putting this value in the profit of stronger competitor or the stronger company. Okay. I'll use the same space, or I'll remove these. Doesn't matter. So once we have this relationship, we are essentially putting this into the profit of the stronger company, and in place of, the initial reaction would be very simply the same as earlier, which is P, price minus the variable cost into the quantity of the strong company minus the capital cost for each production, right? This will be how it will usually be. But this price, now we have a relationship with the quantity of the weaker company. So we are putting that over here, and this becomes C upon, and this is capital C, remember, capital C QW plus C, small c, minus small c into QS minus capital C. Okay, so when we open this bracket, this and this will get cancelled, and this will be given to us. So C into QS, which is quantity of the superior company or the strong company, upon quantity of the weaker company minus capital C, right? So this is the relationship that we get out of both of them. And we can also make it even, we can also simplify it further by taking LCM and taking the C common. This will give us quantity of S minus quantity of W upon the quantity of W will be the relationship of this. Okay, and this, remember, is the profit of the stronger company. So finally, S is margin, or the strong company's margin is essentially profit upon revenue. Profit upon revenue. So pi of S upon revenue of S, which is equals to pi of S, which is easily found here, and P, which is price, into the total quantities that are sold. So price of S now, sorry, price which is still common, but quantities of the supplier more, of the strong company more. Now we are only considering quantities here because essentially we are finding out the relationship between scale economies and the strategy, and that's why we are not talking about the price advantage and taking it as common amongst all the competitors. So once we do that, and once we put all the values, which is pi, we are putting the value of pi as C into QS minus QW upon QW upon PQS. So the denominator multiplies with the denominator here as well. and once we separate them out, it doesn't, we don't need to separate them out. It just becomes like this. So I'm using the book's terminology as well so that you can check it in the book as well, like this. So this is just how they've left it in the book. So essentially it becomes C upon PQS, QS upon QW minus 1. Okay, and this becomes my formula for margin. Now, two things that come out of this, which is one, the competitive position. The competitive position can be checked through here. What is this saying? That the quantity of that is S producing and the quantity that is the weak company producing should be equal to more than 1. This should be equals to QS upon QW minus 1 should be equals to 0. Now, more than 0. Okay, for our margin to be higher. If this is 0, then everything becomes 0. If this is at least 1, even then we can, because of the quantity, although this will not be fair, will be more. Okay, so the relative market share should be more than 1. So once we get to this, QS upon QW is more than 1. That means the relative market share is more than 1. Okay, so it can't be the same. It can't be the same. The quantities or the of uh, amount of things that they are selling can't be the same. It has to be at least a difference of more than 1. Okay, and the second thing is the industry economics, which is the relative importance of the fixed cost. So how important the fixed cost, which is this, the capital cost, becomes to this. Okay, so how important this becomes is also shown through this particular example or the equation. Fine. So I hope this explains the surplus leader margin. This is how we'll get it. If the cost is lowered, if this is lowered, then it becomes really, the margin becomes really higher. Okay. Or actually, if we increase this and decrease this, so the margin will still become higher. So it's very interesting once we get to the this equation, how we can figure out how we can change the different variables and get to the economies of scale better. Fine. So I'll do the next one in the next video.